Okay, we've got that one going. I can then close that off and concentrate on just letting people in and starting the session. So hello, hello, hello. Sam, it's so good to see you as well. Oh my goodness me, I'm excited. Thank you very much. So yeah, welcome. I'm Karen Skidmore. This is the first of what I hope is going to be many conversations around midlife shapeshifting. Um, Midlife Shapeshifter has been a name I've been calling myself for a little while, a bit like a sort of an added onto a speaker bio. Oh yes, I'm a midlife shapeshifter. And the feedback I've been having about it has just been great, and it's really captured. It feels the movement that I've been making. It was really important for me to be able to have a container to start hanging what I now do around. So midlife shapeshifting has been born. It's a newsletter, it's a Substack. I'm now writing again and it feels really good. So it kind of made sense for me to start doing some live, I don't want to call them webinars and I don't want to be calling them masterclasses. I'm so over. That's sort of me from before. So I'm calling them sort of like conversations. We'll see how they go. And to be able to talk about some of these really important topics that hit us in what I'm calling the batshit crazy years of our 40s and 50s, which are forcing so many of us, particularly women, to shift, to be able to morph, to be able to become the next version of who we are. Because there's certain things that happens in our 40s and 50s that really does force us to move. And if we don't move, we don't shape shift, it's very easy for us to unravel very, very quickly, and have as I say, batshit crazy years. So what we're going to do here today, Judith is here. Oh, Elizabeth is here as well. Oh my gosh, it's so lovely seeing names of people that have known me and I've known you for so long. To come and experience the new version of me. Hey, Elizabeth, so good to see you. Right, what we're going to do here today, it's a 45-minute session. I want it to be a lunchtime session. I'm going to be doing a bit of talking. There's going to be no slides. Done with slides. Don't want to do slides. And I would love this to be a conversation as well. I will say that I am recording. There's a lot of people that want access to recording. So please be aware that if you do feel you want to share or you want to put something in the comments and I read them out, that it will, it may or may not go on YouTube, I don't know, but it will be shared. It will be in the public domain. So be aware of that for any sharing. So yes, that's what I wanted to say on that side. The topic for today is what I call the invisible load, which I know many of us looking around here who are here today know this so well. And being able to have a look about how the invisible load affects us. Because once we can name something, it's much easier then to do something about it rather than passively accept this is what life is like and this is what's happening. And I also would like to be able to share a couple of somatic exercises towards the end as well. So I'm not going to do any music today. They are really simple somatic body exercises that we can do to help us get in our bodies. Because a lot of what I feel the issues come from us when we don't deal with the shifts that happen in midlife is because we're so much in our heads, we're so much in our thinking, we're so much in a cognitive state. And this is the world we live in. It favors the thinking, it favors the AI, it favors the productivity, it favors all the conditioning that we live. And when we're in our heads, we forget about this incredible body that takes us from A to B, that helps us live our lives. And from a female perspective and a human perspective, so let's be mindful that this isn't just a woman thing, this is a human thing. But I do feel that women have a greater access to it, is our embodied wisdom, our wisdom that comes from our bodies, that the more that we can hear and tune in to our instincts, our intuitive self, we can trust ourselves more, we can listen to the signs that our bodies are whispering us to us, and sometimes scream and shout at us and we still ignore it. I have plenty of those t-shirts in my wardrobe. I have lots of experience of ignoring what my body wants from me. And the more that we can come into an embodied approach through life, the healthier and the more potential that we have as human beings. Because I firmly believe that one of the things that women do have the advantage of is menopause. And I say this with a little bit of a twinkle in my eye because I had some pretty hellish perimenopausal years. But the menopause does force women to adjust very quickly. And if we don't, it can really, really fuck us up, really, can't it? Excuse my French. But the menopause symptoms can be really, really quite horrid. And so that's the advantage I do feel that women do have is that the menopause, whenever that might happen, it could be 35, it could be the typical age of 52, it could be a little bit older, it all happens, but every single female will go through menopause. And it has a way of forcing us to help us adjust. So yes, so this is what I want to talk about with the invisible load here today. But I also do want to just briefly introduce myself. I think there's some names here that you have known. We've known each other for so many years. Carolyn, Sam, Elizabeth, Judith. And there's people who, Jane, Rosalind, I'm not quite sure whether we've met before. I'm trying to remember. We've definitely not worked together. And I have a whole load of people who are wanting access to this, like going, well, who is this Karen? Who is she talking about midlife shapeshifting? I am now an energy practitioner. I specialize in working with women around their energy. I am now a trained sound healing practitioner, embodiment facilitator, and now Reiki practitioner. And this is the area that I work with women to help them access their embodied wisdom, and I do that somatically. I do that cognitively as well. We do talking, we do work through the practical aspects of our shifts. But I focus very much on the somatic and the energetic shifts because I know, and what I've seen this year of working this way is that the results are far more sustainable, far more significant, and the results have been pretty mind blowing from what I've been seeing with the people I've been working with already. And this comes off the back of 20 plus years working as a business coach. So a lot of people here today will know me as working on your business and working around business leadership, systems and processes. I can have been teaching internet funnels, all of that malarkey, all very much in the head, but no more. That's all now. That's my big shape shift that I've been making in my own business. So it is a bit strange working in this year of this new work, and I'm still kind of getting used to saying energy practitioner, particularly Reiki. But it is who I am now, and it is incredibly exciting, really coming into what we know as the crone years, postmenopausal. I'm now going to be 56 level 56. I see a lot of people using that as level 56 rather than talking about your age. And I'm firmly right in the postmenopausal phase of myself. So I do know that the loveliness of being a little bit more stable, and really, really embracing my crone years, really enjoying becoming aging, really enjoying looking forward to my late 50s and 60s and settling into being a crone, which is our third act as a woman. So, what I wanted to start with today, though, in this session was the invisible load, and the invisible load of the energetic cost of caring for other people that we have around us. So we're talking about, yes, children, but partners, parents, elderly relatives, neighbours, the natural role that so many of us as women do because it's part of us, it's expected of us, but it's also who we are, and a huge part of that female energy that we bring to society is the world of care. And there is something that happens in our 40s and 50s, particularly here in the UK, and is what we are seeing so much more. People have been calling it the sandwich generation now for many times, for many, many years. Kind of like seeing it's getting being a bit like a very hot, steamy, sticky cheese panini being under the toaster. Where for those of us who have had children growing up, and being a mother, um, you may have other children that you may be looking after, godparent, godchildren, nieces and nephews. And then on the other side, we have elderly parents, and being stuck in that middle in our 40s and 50s when we have plenty of us, plenty on our plates already. That role of responsibility has been hugely put on women in recent years. And I know that many of us here are feeling it. The way of having to be that elder care on top of children and grandchildren and everything else, and trying to work and trying to potentially run a business and to have a career, and also want to live our own lives and have our own hobbies and what else we want to do with our lives. So this world of care is something that's really, I feel, is a boiling point with many, many women, particularly in that sort of 50 bracket, of bringing in the elder care. Um, Before I go into, because the things I wanted to dive into was the three weights, the mental load, the emotional labor, and the responsibility for others' outcomes. Because when we can start to really know what's included in this invisible load, it allows us to see it, and then we can make decisions on whether we want to do anything about it, because there's energetic cost that it's affecting us. If we just shrug it off, or we pretend it doesn't happen, or we're not even aware that it's there, it's very easy to point the finger and blame everything else. And usually it's ourselves. It's my fault. I'm doing something wrong. What am I doing to make myself poorly? What's happening in my health? So I'm going to have a look at these three areas: mental load, emotional labor, and responsibility for others' outcomes, and separate them all out, because it's very interesting and they're all very, very different things. And when they overlap, it's like a Venn diagram. That bit in the middle, that gets really, really heavy on us. But I just thought I'd just open it up, and see if anybody would like to offer insights from themselves. Don't feel you have to. As I said, this call's being recorded. But what was it about the invisible load that you felt a calling to come and join this session here today, and come and hear me speak and come and join the conversation? Anybody like to unmute or share or put something in the chat? Mm. Sam, I know you're right in the thick of it at the moment, aren't you? Bless you.
Yeah, I may as well tell you what I'm thinking. I've had I will say I'm 61 and I thought my mid-50s was hard. And this phase that I've gone into now has been tougher than I was ever expecting. I kind of thought I was in midlife and I wasn't. Wherever I am now is much harder. And I've been observing my reactions, which you may well have realized have gone from sadness to anger to
Mm,
deep resentment and back at the beginning again and through. And I don't land anywhere. It's an evolving emotional turmoil,
mm,
which
mm.
is interesting. Because I
Yeah.
think when you're younger and you're dealing with stuff like, will they get to uni or will they do this or will do that? There's a peak and then things get back to normal. And it's the endless phases that
Mm,
I'm going through that are causing me the most load.
mm. And this is with your parents, isn't it?
Right now, I'm at my mother-in-law's. She's having end of life care, and I'm here with David. My parents, my father's just had a stroke, 5 heart attacks, was in hospital for 5 weeks. My mum's got dementia, and my husband's just been diagnosed with prostate cancer. He goes for surgery on Saturday, and I've just escaped not having ovarian cancer, as in they thought there was something there. And it was just like, what else? What else can you throw at me?
Mm,
What else? I can't, can you really honestly expect? And this has been in the last 9 weeks.
mm.
Um,
That's intense. That is intense.
so
Um,
yeah, it was your term invisible load actually that got me here because I didn't think mine's not invisible, it's shiny.
you can see it loud and clear.
Shiny. Yeah.
Oh, bless you.
Anyway,
Bless
so
you.
but
Well,
it's more
sharing
that
this.
change of emotions that's quite interesting to observe in myself.
Yeah. And that's really lovely way. I thank you for reflecting on that one because when we can observe our reactions to this, it really helps us understand and help us be resilient through the process. Because I know you wouldn't do this, Sam. You wouldn't just go, oh, fuck a lot of them. I'm disappearing. Can't cope with this, so I'm going to. Because you're there. You care. You need to be there. You want to be there. But how do we build that sense of resilience without us then coming out the other end completely wrung out and there's nothing less for us? Because there is, as cheesy as it is, and we all know this, we've all been around the planet many, many years, and we've probably heard this so many times, is that bit where we get into an aeroplane and we get told about the oxygen mask coming down, and to make sure we put it on ourselves first before we go and put it on any children or elderly parents or anybody else that's around us. And I know it's a cheesy thing to bring up, but I do feel it's the thing that we hear time and time again when we get on the aeroplane. And yet, when we come back to life again, we forget about the oxygen mask has to come on us first because we are then not able to be there for the people that are around us to care. And that's really hard. And that can be really hard to remember that in the moment. And this is why this work of coming back to our bodies is so important because when we're in our heads, when we're in that fucking anger and that's those are intention and we need to feel those emotions. We can't suppress them, but if we live our lives being focused on that and it's all head driven, our heads take over and we get become practical and we've got to sort the shit out and all the rest of it. That's when we forget to start the day with something for ourselves. We forget to make sure the oxygen mask and we are taking in the right level of oxygen for us to be able to not just get through the next few weeks, the next few months, be able to do it at the times that we can come out the other end and still have a working body, um, a mental health, a point that we can still be human through the process. Um, and it is hard. It is really, really frigging hard. So thank you for sharing that, Sam. So anybody else like to share anything before I dive into these three weights of the invisible load? Yeah, Carolyn. Oh, I can't hear you. It looks like you're unmuted, but it's not coming through. Is your mic attached to the right? It's because I know it's going between Teams and Zoom, isn't it? Don't worry. I know if you're in Teams all day and then you try and get onto Zooms, the system hogs the mic, doesn't it? You can put something in the chat, and I'm very happy to read it out. But yeah, anybody else want to share anything before I dive into these three parts?
Karen, I'll just share just a completely different situation to
Is
Sam.
that Jane? I've just seen Jane. Hi, Jane. Oh no,
Interestingly,
Angela. Sorry, I've just
yeah,
realised.
no, it's fine.
I see.
Yeah, interestingly, I don't have children. I don't have a partner. My parents are still in their mid-70s and they're healthy. Touch wood, everything's great at the moment. Um, but what I've realised and why I kind of came along with the title Invisible Load is that since I left my corporate job 2.5 years ago, what I've realised is that I was always the person carrying the load for everyone.
Mm.
And it's almost like I've got to this age and suddenly realized that like no one's really been there for me. I've been like the one that I'm literally the person that says, stand back, there's nothing to see, I'll clear up the mess. That's just like my identity has been that. And it's so tiring. I've just got to the point now where I can't carry it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's getting to that point in your life, I think, where it's almost like offloading the baggage. And I tell the clients that I work with, right, the founders and the like you, the coaching people, but I've not been living it myself. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Thank you for sharing that. Because actually, I hadn't mentioned this, but it is the team, the work that we do is the same. And because when you don't see it and you don't acknowledge it, you don't realize the impact it's having to you until you take that step back.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's capable people. What's the phrase? If you want something done, give it to a busy person. I've lived with that. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm capable. Give me more stuff. I'm brilliant at multitasking.
But
Yay.
it's not just work, it's all my friendships, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, just everything.
And it's then it becomes the assumption, oh, Angela will organise the weekend away. Angela always does that. It's fine. And then every so often, just what? How? What's it all down to me? Why is it all down to me? And so we know, and we know this again as human beings, that we could finger point and say it's all them, assuming I'm going to be organising it all. But the only person we are in control of is ourselves. And then that becomes the really hard thing as well of going, actually, I can't change how other people are assuming it's always down to me all the time. I then have to have a think about, well, how am I setting boundaries? How am I communicating this? What's important to me? So this is again one of our human traits, is it's so easy to blame it, not literally blaming people, but in our mind saying it's not me. Why is it all everybody assuming I'm going to be doing this? When actually it's like, take a step back. This is costing me energy. This is weighing me down. Okay, so what do I want to do about it? So this is where we're taking it out of our heads and you're recognizing it, that heaviness in our bodies. Where is it going? Um, so let's start with mental load, because I think that's the one that I feel that most people go to when we talk about invisible load, is the mental load, the cognitive burden of remembering, planning, and organizing everyone and everyone at any time because you're capable and you can do it. But when you are the one who is remembering everybody's birthdays in the family, including your partners, when you're the one who's remembering to organise the annual get together with your girlfriends and remembering that the last three places you've gone to, so you're trying to do something different to make it fun or whatever it might be. It's the I'm talking about motherhood as well, when you're talking about children, and thinking about what needs to be doing for the kids to get to school, when actually maybe some of them might be old enough to start doing and thinking this them for themselves. When do we let go and let other people take over responsibility? It's the cognitive mental overload when we're in a workplace situation and say, give the busy person the stuff because they get stuff done, and then that all keeps going. So if you want to know how heavy mental overload is, and we can joke about it, and it's, we don't want to take it so seriously. It's quite nice to make light of it every so often. But if you ever want to realize how heavy your mental overload is costing you in brain capacity, in ability of cognitive function, is just go and pick up your phone at the end of the day and close down all your apps and then go, oh, that's how fast my phone can go. It's when you open up your Chrome browser or whatever browser you're using and you're wondering why your laptop's going sluggish, it's because you've got three apps, three things running, and you've got 50 tabs open on your Chrome browser. You close it all down, you defrag your computer, you go, oh my God, that's how quickly my machine's going. That's exactly what's happening with our brains. And we are in serious danger where we think we're capable of taking on more and more thinking. There is a danger that our brain fatigue starts affecting us. And we know this if you've gone through the menopause and you know about brain fog, is that the ability to remember names, yes, as we get older, yes, our brain does start slowing down. But if it starts slowing down too early, where are we going to be when we get into our 70s? Where are we going to be in our 80s? So our brain health is incredibly important to be aware of as we're going through our 40s and 50s. Don't just wipe it off and say, God, I just can't remember anything anymore. I remember, in fact, it was a couple of years ago, and I think this is where we seriously need to take a look at how we're using our phones and the attention span. And it really does scare me in quite serious things about kids and young children be given phones and iPads, because everything now is done in 3-minute reels, 2-second videos, scroll, 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 scroll. And just go onto TikTok and Instagram and just do that for 5 minutes and tell me it doesn't impact your brain. Your brain, your eyesight, and I've done it myself when I've gone, whoa, my brain has just gone doolally. And that's the impact it has when we have too much mental overload. So mental load is probably, I think, one of the easiest ones to grasp because we know we're doing it, but we need to take a step back and going, I've got too many things, too many tabs open my head. And what's the other thing I wrote down? We celebrate capable women and hold them as heroines for ourselves. I wrote about that last week. And I know I've done that myself. I was like, yeah, I'm a capable woman. Yes, I'm one of them. Um, and as I went through my late 40s and into my early 50s, I realized that actually being capable was not healthy for me. um, the second big part of invisible load is emotional labor. The effort of managing others' emotions while often suppressing your own in the process. And this is where we're really going into that. Wow, do I really do that? And this often shows up as you being the calm one in the midst of a crisis. So the family might be going, oh my God, something's happened. An illness has been, like someone's just, oh, it's okay. We've got this. You're the one that puts the kettle on. You're the one who strokes, someone's back. It's okay. When actually inside, you're getting completely distraught. Oh my God, I don't know if I can deal with this. And that suppressing emotion so that you can be calm for other people, it's fine in the moment because sometimes it has to be done, but when it's done on repeat, repeat, repeat every single day is exhausting. And that really does mess with our body systems, our homeostasis. It puts our body into stress. And I know that, so emotionally regulating for others' comfort. I know how much I've done this over the years, treading on eggshells, keeping the peace. I am a huge, huge peacekeeper. And I was identified this in my probably mid 40s of realizing how much effort and energy I was using to keep everyone calm because I didn't like conflict. Now, again, there's something we can use the menopause sometimes of actually letting some of these emotions out in safe places. Because there's no such thing as bad or good emotions. We all potentially want to be happy all the time, but that doesn't happen as a human being. There is a whole spectrum of emotions, and we're entitled and we need to feel grief. We're entitled, we need to feel anger. So if there is anger and there's frustration, it needs an outlet to come out rather than suppressing it all and keeping everything calm. And the third one, and I think this is probably the most trickiest one, is the responsibility for others' outcomes. So when we berate ourselves for, in fact, the example I used was reminding your child to bring their swim bag into school again and they've been given detention. Now, they might be plenty old enough at the age of 10 to remember their own bloody swim bag. And surely they should be taking responsibility for forgetting the swim bag and taking the detention on the chin. But, and I know I did this so many times, then I'd berate myself. I'd feel guilty because I wasn't the one to remember to tell them. So about the outcomes. And again, it's very similar about that suppressing emotions. But when we are managing other people's outcomes as well as ourselves, whoa, we start to realize how much our nervous system is on guard. Our nervous system is not just looking out for our best interests, but it's looking out for everybody else's, whether that's a work colleagues, whether it's how your boss's reaction to how you're responding to his emails, how your parent, your mother or your father is responding to how you're communicating. So when you start to recognize all of that you're holding, when you have those three areas that cross over, that invisible load, it's so much more than just cognitive overload. It's so much more than just mental. There is the suppression of emotions. There is the managing of emotions. And there comes a point where you're going, hang on a minute, where's all this emotions going? And our emotions stay blocked in our bodies and they cause havoc. They cause havoc with our health, with all sorts of different things. I can only speak for myself. When I suppressed grief because it was uncomfortable, I didn't really know how to deal with it. but it was becoming more and more comfortable of expressing my grief because when my dad died in my 40s, when I was 40, I had two young children and a husband who thought I was about to go mad. And we had a life to live. So I pressed it all in. I suppressed it. And actually, what transpired is and we hold a lot of grief in our hips and our bellies. And it went straight into my hips. And that's why I got a lot of physical problems, as in like stiff hips. But that's where a lot of energy got blocked. I had a huge amount of pelvic disorder, and was wondering why, I couldn't hold my bladder. And a lot of that is coming from that emotional blockage. So lots of other things as well. Might be too much information to share there, but that's the sort of thing that can show up. Okay, so we have these things that go on, and it's when you start to feel responsible, and you must stay composed, and you've got to remember everything. When you've got those three things going over there, it's unsustainable and it's exhausting. So the first step in all of this is just recognizing it's going on. And that's why it's so much more than just cognitive overload. When we can see it and we can acknowledge it and we can accept responsibility for it and say, oh my God, I'm allowing this to happen, it allows us to go, okay, so what can we do? So I want to share a couple of really simple somatic exercises to help us get back in our bodies, because that for me is one of the easiest ways of helping release this and bringing it back. Because yes, we can cognitively discuss it, we can go into therapy, we can go into counseling, we can go into coaching, we can talk about all the practical ways. But for my experience and how I'm working with clients now is actually when we can start bringing ourselves back into our bodies and coming back into ourselves, our bodies know, they know what to do. And sometimes it's not about finding the right words, it's about bringing it back into what our bodies know already. But before I share a couple of somatic exercises to help us, would anybody else like to share anything, what I just shared? Judith, I once got into my car and screamed so much I hurt my throat. Wow.
Yeah, I just want all of those things you were saying about taking responsibility for others, people's emotions, moods, whatever's going on. I was just smiling at that because I still do it. But when we were going through a particularly awful time with my teenager, yeah, the suppression of my emotions, because there was no space for me to let it out, to be upset, to be angry, to be anything. I had to just be there, be patient, be kind, be supportive. And it was so hard that one day I got into my screen, drove up the road, into my car, drove up the road, and I just screamed, and it was primal. And I did hurt my throat because there was nowhere at home that I could let anything out. I just couldn't do anything. It was horrendous. And whilst we passed those really bad times, there's still pieces there, and there's stuff that I definitely haven't let out yet.
Yeah.
I'm better at managing it. I'm better at putting my oxygen mask on first because I found I had to do that in order to stay sane. There's threads, it's still there. I know it is still there because of how I can react now, and the fingernails come back like this.
Yeah.
Just sort of hang on. So yeah, I recognise so much of that. I just wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wasn't going to be doing, and I won't be teaching people how to scream here today. There is better ways, because screaming to hurt your throat, that's hard, because if you damage your throat, if you just go out into the woods and scream, you might feel like that's the prime, it's just instinctive to do that, but we can injure ourselves. And it's also, screaming in a car in the woods, you might find yourself somebody calling 999 and wondering what the hell's going on. There are much safer ways, even just the simple process of getting a rolled up towel and screaming into a towel. And it comes from the guttural, it doesn't come from the high pitched scream like that. That's going to hurt your throat. But getting a towel, and I'm not going to demonstrate it, it's not for today. That's quite intense. I'm not going to get anybody to do it, but there are absolutely ways of being able to get that out. My slightly easier way of doing this is you want to take the vent off before it gets to the point of needing to scream, is actually picking your favorite punk record, I use Florence and the Machine, the Free song. I love that song. And I will put that on very high volume and I will dance the whole song in the kitchen. And it's only about 3.5 minutes long. And I freak out to Free. I haven't done it for ages, actually. I was doing lots of it last year. Lots of it last year, for those of you who know my journey. Oh my God, rather than sobbing and, in a snotty mess on the kitchen floor as everything was going wrong in my business, I would put Free on and I would absolutely, and it's great. And it's really important that we do this every so often to be able to get the release out so that then we don't then, because if we did, the danger is that we start screaming at other people. It can severely damage the relationships of the people that we're trying to care for. So there is absolutely that moment of having to be able to get these emotions out, because it's that frustration. You suppress them, it will come out very ugly, and often at the wrong time in front of the wrong people, and can destroy relationships just like that, because unfortunately there's no way of bringing those things back from it, is there? But yes, towel next time, Judith, and guttural, that's the way to do it. Callie, I also find dancing to one specific track is also a really good way to let the others in the house know without having to say the words. Yeah, there's a really good, and in fact, Callie, I know you got it as well. There's an Angry Woman playlist on Spotify, and there's some really good songs in there, and I've done that as well when I've got really pissed off with somebody. I remember last year, this was a professional thing, nothing to do with even work anyway, and I was really really upset. And before I could speak to my mum about it, because it was about my mum's house purchase and sale, I went to the garden, put my headphones on, and I think it's the "Fuck You" song. Can't remember who sings that actually. And I played that twice, and then I was able to get it out of my system and then go and deal with the situation that really, really pissed me off. So it's very important to find these moments of being able to take these things out of us, but we need to feel safe enough to be able to do that. For most women I speak to, they don't feel safe enough to be able to do that yet, okay, because you're so much in your heads. All right, but this is the work I do with people to help you feel safe. Right, I've just realised what the time was, and I wanted to make these nice lunchtime sessions 45 minutes. So I wanted to see if we've got time to do two. Maybe we'll just do one. Let's see how we go. The first thing I want to share with you from a really simple somatic exercise is something I call conscious noticing. A lot of people might refer to this as mindfulness, but when I say mindfulness, a lot of people go down the meditation route. So how many people, when you see mindfulness, they go, oh God, you're talking to me about meditation and or being Zen and having to be calm, and I don't particularly feel calm at the moment. Yeah. So I really love the phrase conscious noticing, because it's very practical, and we can conscious notice parts of our bodies to help us get in and calm ourselves, calm our nervous system. And one of the easiest things to consciously notice is our breath. We breathe, I don't know how many times an hour, but it depends on how what your pace is, but we breathe naturally. We breathe in our sleep. If we don't breathe, we're dead. Okay? Our bodies know how to breathe. We don't have to tell our bodies to breathe. But for most of us, when we're going about, particularly in a stressful situation, and I'm thinking of like you, Sam, with everything you're doing right now, it's very easy to find ourselves breathing only in our chest. And when we breathe and we're not conscious of our breathing, we will very often find ourselves in that sympathetic nervous state where we're just ready to go. We're ready to jump. We're ready to, fight the lions and the tigers and whatever next bit of news is coming. So conscious noticing is that moment where you suddenly go, oh, I just want to notice what my body's doing. And let's just do it with our breath. Right here, right now, without changing anything, I want you to start noticing how you're breathing. Just take your attention to where the breath is coming in your body. Notice the pace. Start to notice whether you're breathing in and out through your nose or your mouth, or alternate. And as you start to notice your breath, how do you notice it starting to change? Do you notice it starting to get a bit slower and a bit deeper? Do you notice the pace slowing? And now consciously notice what happens if you do breathe a bit deeper and bring your breath further into your body. And you may want to put a hand on your chest and maybe another hand on your belly, and begin to notice what happens if you really bring your breath deep into your body. Do you notice your belly starting to move now with your breath? And while you're there, what else do you notice? Maybe you notice your heart, the blood coming, pulsating through your body. Maybe you notice your stomach gurgle. Well done. So that took no more than a minute to bring your attention into your breath, into your body. And Galley's done a nice big yawn. I love that. Yay! You just dropped your nervous system down beautifully there. Great example of how the body starts relaxing. Because when we are in a moment of stress, when we are thinking of a lot and we've got a lot of cognitive overload and we're suppressing emotions and we're thinking about everybody else's outcomes as well as our own, our body is going to be in that fight or flight type of emotions. We're ready to go. And what happens is our brain sends messages to us to keep our breath shallow. And that's why we will often have shallow breath, because it's taking the energy into response. It's putting us on alert. It's putting the right chemicals, the right hormones in our body that we're ready to go, which is what it's designed to do. You know, if we have a bear coming out the woods at us, we want to be able to run like hell or decide to fight it. But if we're in that state all the time, that's what's causing the stress and the inflammation in our bodies, because we're at that fight. When we start to notice our breath and bringing it right down into our bellies, it sends signals to our brains to drop our nervous system into more calm and gives us different hormones and different relaxation. So yeah, Angela, I'm so sleepy now. And it is, Judith, right, breath work. It is a very simple way of breath work, which I love breath work. Oh my goodness me, there's a whole mode going in and looking at it. But what I find is that it's another thing for people to do. And when you've already got a ton of things on your plate and you're being taught how to learn how to breath work, this just consciously noticing your breath in this moment is not something else to add to your to-do list, because you can do it any time. Now, practically, what you've got now is you've got a really simple somatic exercise to do at any time you can do, and it's remembering to do it. So it's the points in your diary in your day when you boil the kettle. Rather than boil the kettle and then go off and do or wash up the plates or check your phone, we'll literally wait for the kettle to boil and do a conscious noticing on your breath. Another really great one is that when you're in the car, does everyone drive here? I'm assuming everyone drives here. You drive, you turn the car engine off and you get out the car. That moment before you open up the car door is another lovely point of going, Oh, I've just turned the car engine off. I'm just going to do a conscious notice on my breath. There's another one just before you leave the house and you open up your front door. Consciously notice your breath before you open up the door. There's these little moments that we can put in as little fire breaks. So not only are you noticing your breath and reducing the pace and bringing it down deeper into your belly, which then calms your nervous system, you're creating tiny little minute fire breaks in your day, rather than just going out the door, in the car, out the car, into that, boil the kettle, onto this, onto the next thing, boom, boom. And that's why the crazy business keeps you in your head. So is that a really nice, helpful somatic exercise to do in nice little bite size that you don't have to think about? You don't have to tick off, I need to do 10 of them a day. I need to do that before I wake up in the morning. It's like there, you have moments where you can consciously notice. We can consciously notice the way that we walk, which is another great exercise I'm now beginning to teach clients. We can consciously notice how we're sitting. There's so many other bits that we can do, but the breath is my favorite because we all breathe all of the time. And it's a really great one for calming the nervous system. Judith, instead of checking Facebook, which is what I often do in that moment before going into the house, there you go. Oh my God, yes, absolutely. You'll start to recognize how you sneak in your phone activity. I do as well. I'm not perfect. It's like I boil the kettle. No, I'm not going to look at my phone. I'm boiling the kettle. No, just unconsciousness in my breathe. It's like a minute. That's all it is. Okay. Now I'm conscious we've gone over time. I'm going to leave the other exercise into another conversation. I want to be doing more of these more conversations about what is it like when we are going through midlife and the potential shit show moments, and then bringing in somatic exercises, bringing in some really simple things that you can do on a day-to-day basis without feeling that there's a million and one things to add. I will say just before we finish, I'm bringing my Embrace program, which is an embodied wisdom program. I did some of these sessions last year when I first started doing when I was coming to the end of my somatic training. Worked with some amazing people last summer. I was wanting to run it as a group program. That didn't materialize, so I worked with a couple of clients on an individual basis, and it feels right that this is the work that I want to do with some people who might be interested in the autumn. If you would like to do some one-to-one work with me around slowing yourself down and getting into your body, either pop a comment in the chat now before we finish, or ping me an email and I'll send you the information. We can have a conversation about it. But it is a beautiful mix of working. We could do some cognitive, we'll do some talking, we'll do some practical stuff, but it's about working in the body and bringing the Reiki in as well. So there is a lovely, lovely way of being able to work with me from mid-September onwards if you'd like to do some one-to-one work with me. So let me know. So good. So I'm glad that's been a lovely quiet lunchtime. Thank you. And thank you very much. It's been beautiful doing something that I didn't have to do slides for. I wanted to do some teaching, but I didn't want to be doing a masterclass. And it was lovely to hear and share some of your stories as well as giving you some practical things about getting back into your body. So thank you very much. Anything before we go? I know I've gone slightly over. Maybe I need to run these sessions at 60 minutes, but there's something about doing 45. So thank you. Any other shares before we finish? You can have a quick unmute and say something. If not, have a good rest of the day. It's been lovely to connect with you. Thank you very much. And should I be doing some more of these? Yes, good. Thank you. I need to have that acknowledgement. So yes, I will be doing definitely some more of these on a regular basis. So thank you, ladies. Right, see you all again soon, and travel safely. Big hugs, particularly to you, Sam. Thank you very much for sharing where you're at the moment. Yeah, Judith, scream into towels, not into the woods.
I'm past screaming now, hopefully. That was a while back.
Oh, I don't know. No one's ever past screaming. We can always do with a good scream.
I'll remember the towel. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much, ladies. Bye.